A lot of blood, not enough gore. Well written characters, not much given as the story began to tell the differences between them. Good directing, good set design. Where's the good story? Hey everyone, my name is Max Aaron James. This is a review of the movie Evil Dead Rise, written and directed by Lee Cronin. Stars Alyssa Sutherland, Lily Sullivan, Morgan Davies, Gabrielle Eccles, and Nell Fisher. It is about a family, a single mother and her three children, two teenagers and a younger little girl, are visited by the mother's sister, and an earthquake happens. A book is found by one of the children, and now we have an Evil Dead movie. Now, honestly, this movie could have been outside of the Evil Dead franchise if the Book of the Dead was not included, and it would have maybe not been as critiqued as heavily as I did. I am a fan of the Evil Dead franchise. I think all four movies, previous films, for the most part are good. The third one in the Sam Raimi trilogy does become very slapstick, and I think that one I like the least because it ended up being pure horror to this Army of Darkness comedy, which is fine. I mean, I enjoyed myself when I watched it when I was younger, but I preferred the horror. Now, going back to Alvarez's 2013 Evil Dead, great. The goriest, the bloodiest, the scariest of all of them, and I think it elevated horror to another level. Here with Evil Dead Rise, I would have hoped that Cronin saw that movie, thought maybe we can do the same, make it as horrifying, and maybe take in some elements from it. No. This movie felt like it was just checking boxes. There is a scene in the forest in the beginning of the movie with characters that we do not see for the rest of the film, and for the most part not really tied at all to the main characters. It just felt they were trying to check a box of the previous Evil Dead movies mention or take place in this forest at this cabin, and here we are doing the same thing now. I will say the title card in the forest was amazing. One of the best title cards I have seen ever. I do feel the best scenes were shown in the trailer, and they were all good scenes. Even watching them in the movie, I think they were fantastic. I think the directing and cinematography was really well done. But it felt like these scenes were just really cool ideas, and a story was made to tie these scenes together, because I do not think there was any scene I really enjoyed that was not shown in the trailer. I think the acting performances were incredible by everyone, particularly Alyssa Sutherland, who goes from this kind, sweet mother who does still worry about not only her children, but as well as her sister, to this demonic creature who, and the way her body moves, I really liked. It's same with Lily Sullivan. I liked her performances and how she portrayed the sister, this aunt, this single nomad in a sense, who's really into bands and who's a guitar tech, I believe. I think this movie had really good makeup and cosmetic artists. I really liked that there was a lot of blood, the point where they're soaked in blood, but there was not enough gore. There was not enough body parts being ripped or cut, or at least shown on screen, and it felt that too much CGI was implemented into this movie that took away from it, and I think they could have done more practical effects. I think they should have at least attempted at it, and I would have appreciated that much more than the CGI blood, and I had that same issue with Renfield. The 2013 Evil Dead was one of very, very few movies, especially at that time, that was a reboot to previous franchises that was able to actually elevate horror. I do not think there was any other movie at the time that was as good as Evil Dead in 2013 within, I would say, a 5-year span on both sides that was as good as it. This movie felt like a very glamorized fantasy of what could have been a good horror film. The elevator scene that pours the blood out, great scene. When they're soaked in blood, great. There's even a point that reminded me of The Thing. That is all I'll say about it. And I think, again, they should have relied on practical effects and trusted their team much more than just deciding to go CGI or keeping things in the shadows. There is also an element that is referenced and mentioned throughout the movie regarding Lily Sullivan's character that I feel did not really add much to the film. It could have added to the character maybe, or how people interacted with Sullivan's character, but did not really add and became a bit distracting at a certain point, and I got tired of hearing about it. I felt in no way that it contributed to this development of the character and could have been mentioned once or twice, and then we could have went on. And I think that that would have made that moment or that element hit a bit harder because it did not feel like it was in our face. It felt like I needed to be reminded, or they felt they needed to remind me that this was going on with Sullivan's character. One thing I really do appreciate is how much effort was put into developing each character or creating each character in the beginning. Each character felt different and distinguished and unique, and so their interactions in the beginning of the movie felt really organic, and it felt like I believed that each character did this. But when things start happening and we really get into the story of the demons and the demonic stuff and the possessions, then I felt it went away, and every character became the typical faceless, nameless characters in a horror film who are meant to get chased down in some way. The needle close to the eye shown in the trailer did not lead anywhere, and what led to it was not really great. So again, it felt like the trailer just showed scenes and we were seeing how they were all tied together. Same with the cheese grater on the leg. Pretty disappointing scene, to be honest. I expected a lot more blood and gore from that moment. With that said, this movie is not at the bottom of the list of Evil Dead movies for me. Again, Army of Darkness is probably at the bottom. This movie is still very fun, and I think a lot of people that are not really into the Evil Dead franchise or have not even seen the previous movies are going to have fun with this movie. They may even praise it as one of the greatest horror movies ever because, again, it is fun, it is well directed, very well cast, great acting. It just lacked some elements and some issues that I had, especially regarding the story. It felt that it forgot some things that it established previously in the movie and just moved forward thinking that maybe we forget it because some people may be having too much of a fun time. Considering the original trilogy did start to get off the rails a bit, I feel I'm being unfair with critiquing this movie so much, to be honest. And again, it is not at the bottom, but even with that said, I do not think that justifies ignoring certain elements presented in the beginning of the movie or things established with their surrounding areas and just moving forward as if that never happened. But overall, I will say this movie is worth watching in theaters. Again, I think you will have a fun time, especially if you're not as heavily a film person or really into horror films as much as maybe I am. With that said, I'm going to get into a minor spoiler. This does not ruin the story. This does not say what happens to any characters, really. But this is a spoiler that really bugs me, so here it is. You've been warned. I tried to say warned and then warmed came out. Anyway, where did the door go? There is a scene in the beginning, or I'd say in the second act, of a monster flying through. We get that regular camera moving angles that we get in all the Evil Dead movies. Goes through the front door of this apartment complex, and you immediately see the mother. The elevator is facing the front door. So when we get to the scene where two characters fall out with blood, covered in blood, instead of going out the front door to escape, they go to the parking garage. And I'm just confused as to why make that decision. There are people outside. Go outside, try to get some help. You're in the city, so there's someone out there. There are cars driving by. What made you think that maybe if we get a car, we'll be able to escape faster? You have to go deeper into this apartment complex and parking garage, and you have a gate guarding you or blocking your way. What are you doing? Also, I wonder if they forgot about the monsters that are on the 13th floor. I mean, you cannot assume that people are just going to demolish the building and they will die, because people still check and walk through the buildings to make sure everyone is out and there's nothing there that could be damaging or cause a major explosion, right? Gas leaks. There are precautions made before demolishing a building, I am sure. There are records showing that people live on this floor, so people are going to go to that floor and check, especially after seeing all the blood that is going to be everywhere. The elevator, the parking garage. People are going to be suspicious. Anyway, if you watched the movie, what did you think about it? Until next time, y'all take care of each other, check up on one another, check up on yourself, and remember, potential has no limit.